All right. Today's 2-minute book review, God Meant It for Good, a fresh look at the life of Joseph. Even though I'm only about halfway through, this is just an amazing book, and it's definitely for anybody out there who's, feeling like their character's been assassinated. And that happens a lot nowadays. Often just if you have a different opinion than someone or you try to set a boundary. It's happened to me very recently, personally. But this is like the most inspiring book for that kind of stuff. And this is why reading the Bible and following God is just so important. You know, you realize that the greatest people throughout history have been put through tests. And ultimately, I love the thing that, sometimes God breaks you to make you stronger. And I love this thing. I heard it like a week ago about this Japanese pottery where they take a broken vessel or a cracked vessel and they fill it in with gold, and it becomes that much more valuable. And that's what God does. And it's also like if you're a vessel, and that's what we all are, whatever we put in it is what we become. And that's like your consumption, like that Thang Hung. I can't pronounce the guy's name. I just butchered it super bad. The Buddhist philosopher from Vietnam, he would say, be mindful of what you consume. Everything's consumption, but it's not just food. It's the media you consume, the people you're around. But this book is just so cool. I'm just going to share a passage. Here's one thing. Vindication, it means to be proved right when one has been right all along. Vindication means your name is clear, that the accusations were false and ill-posed. What they said about you was not true, and your name is completely restored. And then another thing was Joseph was absolutely alone. And I've been there so many times, and there's so many people that feel alone right now. And instead of the disciples, when Jesus was being led away to be crucified, that they all forsake him and fled. When the going got tough, everybody ran off, And isn't that the truth about how it is nowadays for so many people? And God delights in putting a chosen instrument through the kind of tribulation where he has to stand absolutely alone or be utterly rejected by everybody to test him. It was said of, I'm going to butcher this, Hezekiah in the Old Testament, God left him to try him that he might know all that was in his heart. Joseph was a man who was tested. He had nobody who believed in him. I'm just going to open it up to a random page and see what happens. Another one. When we are being mistreated in any way, we must realize that our suffering has profound and vast implications for the greater kingdom of God. There are unseen reasons for continuing suffering. Who knows what God will do with your life? If you can take the mistreatment with dignity, what probably means so much to you to be cleared right now could well lose the war should you get your immediately wish. You may say, I can't take anymore. Look at Joseph. He was betrayed by his brothers. He became a slave in a strange land. Then he was falsely accused and slapped into prison. How much more can a person take? The Christian life can be explained as one kind of preparation after another. If there was a way to prepare him other than through trial or testing, God would do that, but he knows best. Such a great book. This is like one of the best books I read. And this is another thing about God's little coincidences and his nudges that you get. I got this book, I forget the city, but it was kind of outside Moscow, Idaho on my trip. And I was leaving a Goodwill, and then I turned back. And frickin', this is just God doing this. I just know it. I turned back, and my eyes went right to this book on the shelf. It was like, you want to talk about alignment? I got this amazing story I'm going to be telling that's really just started everything with this and just showed me. I got 2 stories that are just so crazy about with the words alignment and compass and true north. But I turned around and went right to this book, directly to this book, and I picked it right off the shelf. My eyes went right to it, and it's one of the greatest books that I personally needed at the time, because part of this trip is leaving to find a new place to live. I send people love and forgiveness, but the stuff they did was just so awful. Long story short, I tried to set a boundary with my uncle who I was working for, because I realized he was being used as a flying monkey, and he was also acting as a flying monkey. I realized he's, a little Machiavellian ego. he's good in a lot of ways, but I set a boundary and he just became completely unglued and just started acting crazy around me and just super uncomfortable. And I honestly, he's just turned 70 last year and I felt bad for him because it was like he was going to have a heart attack just being around me, me being normal, being myself. And eventually what happened is I got like one friend in the small town because I just like being by myself. Awesome guy, Spencer from Washington. He's a barber, freaking awesome barber. But I met up with Spencer at a bar and he's like telling me I should get a job at Albertsons for the 401k. And I was like, what the heck is going on? It's like, I got money saved up, a little bit of money saved up. And these people trying to control you and align you with their misalignment. And that's just such an insidious thing. It's like trying to take the greatest gift that God gave us, free will. And that's what happens when people don't believe in God. Their ego takes over and they start trying to control the situations. And through ChatGPT, which is such a great resource because it can give you a logical answer on stuff. And ChatGPT said, yeah, he became unraveled because he's losing power, and it's like talked about in the books, like Pulling Your Strings, the power over dynamic. This is another amazing book, absolutely amazing. The Power Over Dynamic, where these people once they start to lose power, what is that? What is power? They start to just become completely. Look what I open up to. But people start to lose power and they just become completely unglued. And look at this. This is just what happens all the time now. You just open up to the exact right page. And one thing that happened was he sent his son-in-law, who's obviously waiting for the inheritance, so, doesn't mind just doing really nasty stuff. And they started assassinating my character and planting these seeds in town. And another thing that happened, this is just so insidious, is I got the idea that they started to paint me as a misogynist. I have no idea. It's like I was a personal trainer a few years ago and 80% of my clients are women, and I just did some amazing stuff for people and I wasn't paid well. Owner was super cheap. I didn't get a raise for a while, but I remember, I made a lot of those gals' lives way better. But this is just the kind of stuff they do. They say, you agree with us. It's like an unspoken contract where you try to set a boundary or you have a different opinion politically. If you're not a crazy liberal like us, we're going to assassinate your character. We're going to, not only that, we're going to limit your ability to find a nice gal in the small town by painting you as a misogynist. It's just so crazy. It's like, what the hell? But it was funny. I was talking to Spencer. We went out for a bar. I grabbed a beer with him in town, and this guy is such a cool dude. I've been trying to, just like the book said, God meant it for good. This was like a week and a half before I got the book. But I was saying, I just said, screw it. I'm just going to tell him what's really going on with all this stuff and how these people try to control situations. And this guy, Spencer, after I told him this, the guy had tears in his eyes. He just knew it was so screwed up. And all of a sudden, he's just giving me advice like, he just thought it was the most messed up thing in the world. And I told my buddy Jeremy, the youth pastor up in the Flathead Valley, about how they kind of been mocking my faith, which I haven't even been loud about, at all. But it was so funny. Jeremy just couldn't understand and comprehend. He's like, wait, they're mocking you for trying to improve yourself by believing it? He was like, what? He was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. But, it's like, I had thoughts about just writing a book and just, really ripping on these guys and just talking about just how insidious this is and what they actually do, like they get together at dinner parties and stuff and they're super uncomfortable with being themselves. So what happens is they just, they're super stiff. It's like a stage, and everyone sits around there really uncomfortable. No one knows how to be themselves. And if they even know who they are anymore, because they all just conform. And that's another, oh my God, I ordered some bumper stickers with this quote by Wayne Dyer. The quote is, when you're like everyone else, you've got nothing to offer other than your conformity. And that's not just my aunts and uncles and cousins and relatives. But that's most people nowadays. And you're going to be so depressed and unhappy when you conform and you go away from God and just go towards your ego. It's just a selfish thing. It's a dog chasing its tail. You're never going to find happiness that way. But also what happened is my uncle sent me this passive-aggressive message one morning. And that's when I set the boundary. I was just so pissed off. And I sent the message like, I don't want to hear about your politics anymore. I want to keep work and family separate. And after that, he tried to call me right away, and I was like, I don't want to talk to this guy right now. I just need a break. But then right after that, he sends his son, who's the biggest flying monkey ever, to invite me for a beer at the bar so he can extract information. And it's just like, what? Just trying to control the thing. He just became desperate. And in the next week, my uncle just became completely unraveled. He was hanging around the apartment every day because he's got a storage shed there. I mean, usually he's there once every few weeks. He was there every single day and just super uncomfortable around me. And I felt sorry for him because I thought, oh, you haven't do some self-development work and be yourself, you know. It's like, why do you, he's got a lot of money, and it's like, what more do you need? You have to control a situation. It's just such a screwed up thing, but that's how most people do. You know, they just reject God and they go after their own ego. And what happens to that is you always got to be controlling situations after that. Hey, it's a little robin, I really love robins. I kind of feel like they're the Karens of the forest. I wrote that in a notebook like a year ago. Like they're always look at this guy. He's like, what are you doing here? You're in my forest. They're kind of always spying on you and stuff. Look at you, little Karen. I'm just making coffee, bro. You can come closer if you want. Look at he's like my cousins. He's like the flying monkey of the forest. He said, okay, I got my information. I'm out of here.